What is going on, everybody? Sean here from Room 9 Podcast, introducing episode 16. But before I get to that, I want to give a shout out to Natalie Pelnett for our little first single $20 donation. And I'm pretty thankful for that. So we officially have 2 donors. Matt's parents, who awesomely give us $12 a month, which is friggin' badass. And then Natalie was our first one-time donor. So just wanted to thank her for that. If anybody else feels the urge and the givingness, I'm trying to think of the word for that. If anybody else feels led, there we go, to help us out, you can go to room9podcast.com and click on our support page. There is a whole letter there. If you click on it titled Letter to the Donor, that explains how I am consistently and constantly held accountable for every penny that goes into the podcast. And you're actually allowed to get in contact with that person. Her email is at the bottom of the letter. So if you want to do that, you can. That would be awesome. I know a lot of people probably think, well, what the heck, all you do is talk into a mic. How much money can that really cost? Well, A, it takes a lot of time to produce everything, to create everything, to edit everything. Costs website fees, there's RSS fees. There is, equipment stuff that needs to be updated and changed. One of the biggest ones right now, and I'm so grateful for this laptop, but that is on its last leg and really could go out at any moment. So once that happens, I'm in quite the pickle. So if you're feeling led to do that, that was very, very amazing. Anything helps. I promise you that. And that is at, once again, room9podcast.com support page. And there's a letter there. One-time donation. You can do a monthly donation if you sign up for Patreon. It's all explained right there on our website. That being said, this coming up episode 16, I sit down with Zach Jividen. I think that's how you pronounce it. He tells me how to pronounce the beginning of the episode, so you guys will hear it then. He's gonna yell at me for mispronouncing his name, but I believe it is French. So, something like that. It's actually a pretty cool last name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. I sit down with him, and he shares a little bit about his story here and there, but mainly there's a lot of awesome topics we touch on. I was very pumped up about this episode, so I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. We touch on a lot of just cool different topics, and he's been through a lot. He definitely has run through the rock bottom, that's for sure, some of the things he shares. And I believe he's only 25, he talks about, but he spent I think he told me in the beginning of the episode, from the age of 17 to like 24, 25, he literally only spent 9 months outside of rehabs and jail. So he's been through a lot. You can learn a lot from this dude. He seems a lot older than what his age is, and you would be shocked how much he's been through at such a young age. So hope you guys really enjoy it. Get on the website and let us know what you think. Sign up for our emails. Sign up and let us know what if you have any suggestions. Sign up if you want your story typed up. I'm going to create our story page where people kind of just share their stories. I'm going to post them up there and you guys can check them all out. And with that being said, I think that is all. And I hope you guys love this episode. All right. And as always, thank you for your support. Later.
Zach Frost,
Zach Frost, SoundCloud, baby. Representing.
Don't. That doesn't need to be thrown out there.
Oh, that's out there right now. Everybody's going to go look it up. The 3 people who are going to listen to this are going to go look it up.
Yeah.
I got a lot of popular.
Matt, Kyle.
And Andre.
I gave that a good slurp.
I actually would make sure you do that extra loud next time in the microphone.
If only they saw what we were doing, though, for that slurp to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
I bet you Andre hasn't listened to one of my episodes.
You don't think so?
I don't know. He just donated $20 though to the podcast. Yeah, he put it towards my headphones. Probably
$20 to not listen, to be like, all right.
I think that's what essentially the plan was.
So there. you say, yo, Andre, have you heard anything, dude? I gave you $20, so like I contributed more.
It's better than
just
listening.
To have an argument against it.
Which there's a good argument for that. You're gonna give money and not listen.
It is a good argument.
Kind of prefer that at this point.
I would take money from one person versus the other. Potential millions.
Yeah, seeing that I got a $350 donation, which was nice.
Did you?
Which is officially gone after today. But every penny went to the podcast, microphone.
Did you have to say that for the podcast?
Sound pass,
or did it actually go to the podcast?
No, every penny of it went to the podcast. I got this mic. I got that soundboard. I got these headphones. I got a bunch of cables.
Oh, you got that soundboard with it? It's a nice soundboard.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was on sale.
It's nice.
For $100. I mean, there's no like USB
No, but
hookups or anything, but I just run it to my interface and it does what I need it to do.
The mic's nice.
You can, yeah. I get good vocals when I
You're
sing.
probably going to, aren't you? Do you sing?
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite instrument.
Singing? Vocals?
Yeah,
I did vocals back
yeah.
in the day. Way back in the day.
Yeah, I love me some good singing, man. It's been one of my favorite things ever.
Before I decided to take on my very serious rap career, I did vocals. Hardcore band. I decided to just jump from one extreme to the other.
You were in a hardcore band too? You got anything to
was.
record in there?
No.
No? Oh.
Not worth listening to.
No? Well, it's all worth listening to because I'd love to hear it. Just to hear it. Just to hear.
No.
I mean, like, were you screaming?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know how people do that either, man.
It's easy.
That's impressive.
It's easy.
I've tried it, and my voice was like shot for days.
Once you figure it out, it's like riding a bike. Once you figure it out,
You're good to go?
Yeah. You don't. I don't know. It becomes second nature at that point. You know what I mean?
I guess that goes with anything you start doing over and over again, huh?
Yep.
The old classical conditioning. Zach, how do you pronounce your last name?
Jividen.
Jividen. I
Jividen.
like that. What the fuck is that?
French, I think. Jividen.
Jividen.
Jividen. I don't know.
Zachariah
Apparently I'm mainly
Jividen.
German.
Really?
I think it's a French last name, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah. Cool. So, all right. How old are you?
25.
25
Yep.
years old. How long you been clean?
18 months this month.
18 months, 25 years old. That's good.
Yeah. It's the longest I've had ever by 18 months. So
How long you been in and out of institutions?
Institutions in jail?
Yeah.
When I was 19, I got sentenced to 18 months. When I was 22, I got sentenced to 15 months. And when I was like 23 or 24, I did 90 days. I did 55 days in Virginia, so roughly 3 years total of incarceration. And then I've been in 8 inpatients since I was 17. I got put in clearance drug court when I was 17, and then kind of just never really tried to stay clean ever. So it was just like a big shit show. I think the longest time that I was out from the time, like out of an institution or jail, from the time I was 17 has been 9 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So most of your manhood has pretty much all been
Completely.
in jail and in rehabs.
Yep.
That's crazy. Well, I kind of get now why you're turning the shit around, because
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah, I didn't really have like a choice at all in the matter. Like I could either just die or
Keep doing it.
or do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried every way to not do it the right way.
To be able to use and...
Yeah, or like just even, just try to mask it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just obviously does not work that way. More of like a life on life's term situation, you know. I wasn't willing to accept that.
Throwing a cliche out there.
I
like
am,
it.
yeah. But yeah,
That's true.
I wasn't really able to. I was not good with conforming to society, and I didn't agree whatsoever, nor did I think it was right. And if I didn't think it was right, then I probably wasn't going to follow it. So I don't know. Yeah, that like nice. What was it? So 2017, I got clean mid 2017. So from 17 to 24, 9 months
Was all
7 years
in and out.
and 9 months of that was probably on the run because I was never really not in drug
In
court.
trouble.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it from... We're going to do a cliche kind of episode.
Okay.
Of like just starting from your beginning kind
So-
of area. So basically, I guess when I say beginning, of the things you've pinpointed from being younger that have caused you, if you're cool talking about it, that have caused you to use and have caused you to cope and caused you to not want to be... I don't want to use the word normal.
A productive
but
member of society?
Yes, I guess that's the way to go with it, yeah.
So that's like hard. So like anytime like a counselor will talk about like really why did I start using or whatever, like I mean really like my parents drank and it was accessible. So at a young age I kind of just like took liquor from them. At an even younger age, like kindergarten, they used to measure days in like green, yellow, and red. And red you'd have to be like an extremely big asshole as a child, and like you'd be like banned from the playground or whatever. So like I always had behavioral issues because I think I was the only person in that class all the time with anything other than a Green Day and like good band reference.
That was
yeah.
That was a good band reference.
But I mean like I had like some bad behavioral or mental health issues before any substance or anything
Came
was
in.
used, and that's all I can really.
You were just a little piss pot from the beginning, huh?
Dude, I was bad, bro. Yeah, I was. I don't know what the hell. I was bad. I really was. I give my parents a lot of credit. Shout out, Mom, because I was a little asshole.
That was a rookie move right there by me.
Yeah.
Amateur move. Didn't turn my phone off.
I mean, fast forward to where like things started coming together as far as like behavioral mental health and like why I'm using to cope with that. Where I started really noticing it was like, I mean, like I'd smoke weed every day, but thought it was more social at that time. At like 14-ish, it became like an
14?
everyday thing. Then like drinking started to slowly become an everyday thing around like 14, 15. And like I thought it was social because maybe the people or the normal people that were doing it, like I would hang out with a different person this day and a different person this day and a different person this day, where they might be drinking once a week and I'm drinking every
And you
day,
just
but I'm still
yeah.
think it's a social thing because someone's doing it every day. I don't know. That's the most sense I can make of that. You know, I was like into the party scene or whatever at that point. And like by 16 is just anything. I was like a garbage can by 16. It was mainly just cocaine, benzos, opiates, weed, alcohol, hallucinogens, inhalants.
Whatever you can get
It
your
didn't
hands
matter.
on, pretty much.
Like it
yeah.
didn't matter. I just knew that I wasn't gonna do meth, heroin, or crack. That's where the line was
drawn.
Yes.
I always wonder how, because I didn't really start doing anything till I was probably 19, 20.
Yeah.
And I waited, and I hear so many people. I don't know if I was just so immersed in like sports at the time. Believe it or not, I used to love sports. And so I don't know what, I think that was kind of just music and sports was kind of my coping mechanism from just everything in life. My brother and sister died when I was 15.
Yeah.
So I had this, I never even ran to drugs to it. I played sports and I listened to music and played music. So that was always my thing. But I always wonder, like, it's fucking crazy how young some people just, I mean, doing coke, drinking all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I think I got drunk a couple times in my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I have no idea why I thought like that was normal or why I had like that illusion in my head that was normal. But sports was definitely a huge outlet for me too. And I feel like a lot of where I completely fell off attributed to me not playing soccer anymore. Because I was so invested in sports and I did it year round that like when I didn't do it year round anymore, there was nothing time-wise to fill that other than what I previously knew of partying all the time. The partying all the time eventually led to, I mean, really where it became a noticeable problem was like I was at a party one night and I took a bunch of benzos and drank a lot and I tried to fight a few people and I ran when the cops came and they caught me and that's what landed me in drug court. And I was like 17 at the time, like real ignorant and just angry.
Still in high school.
At my parents and just at anything that wasn't me.
Wasn't what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
pretty much.
exactly. Yeah. I just I didn't have like an understanding of why I had to do what someone else was telling me to do and I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's like what my whole life revolved around. I mean, I could rewind to like my parents, I guess, are alcoholics, a different alcoholic than I was or am. And, They can go to work and then drink all day and go to sleep and go to work and drink all day and go to sleep. And they can do that. I can't do that. There's no way I would have a job if I decided.
Or drinking?
Yeah, there's no way. So I was pretty angry like at them and they were a good like scapegoat for me to like, oh, if you guys can do it every day, like I can do it every day too, whatever. And like it was kind of like an example. But like, you know, throughout probably like early 20s, like I blame my parents for a lot of shit, and like I always perceived it as like my parents were abusive parents. My dad and I would get in fights and we had some crazy shit happen between us, and I didn't see like my fault in any of it. All the way up to my early 20s, I didn't see me doing anything wrong. Like, I didn't see why 7 cars parked in the driveway till 5 in the morning, blaring music, smoking weed, and just having people over drinking all the time and throwing parties in the backyard and fucking whatever. I didn't see why that was an issue to do in someone else's house that they're paying the bills for. And, you know, I don't see why someone would be angry with
to
that.
be 17 again.
17 to 20-something. I was,
Really? Yeah.
Dude, I was so blind.
It is funny. I feel like, to be truthful, all of us can blame our parents for every effed up thing about us. We honestly could, just as my kids could blame me for every effed up. And I started this thing with my son when he was 8, and I would look at when I would see him doing things, because I always say, if you want to know and learn about yourself, look at your parents and look at your kids. and you will find so many things that you do that you've gotten from them or given to them. And I used to do that with my son, and he was 8, and I would see him do things, and I'd be like, dude, just so you know, you got this from me. My bad. There's nothing I can do about it, and you got this from me. But I look at my parents all the time, like just these little things that you do, and I see my dad do it, and I'm like, oh, that motherfucker.
See, with that, like, I definitely have a similarity with that, like with my mom for sure, because like I know like my mental health and my mom's mental health are very similar. I just choose to act on it, and she did not,
and she doesn't.
And so like, as far as like the actions like coming out, I'm probably a lot. I mean, like, it probably doesn't bleed out as much, because if you look at my sister, I have a little sister, and she, I think, was Scholar Athlete of the Year twice in Clarence junior and senior year, and then, you know, got a scholarship to Fredonia, and she was, like, pretty much immediately the captain of the Fredonia soccer team. She, like, never had a grade under a 96 ever. She was, like, perfect across the board, you know?
It's kind of like my sister.
Yeah, perfect across the board. She had a good example, though, to look up to see what not to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. I remember crying to my sister when all this was going down, and I remember just she was hugging me, and I was saying, I'm your older brother. Like, I should be a better example.
Yeah.
Like, I should be doing better than this.
Yes.
And, yeah, that kind of always sucks, feeling that way, but...
I mean, it's just, like, being, like, blinded by something. So like I was always so codependent, like even like as far as like with my sister, I'd always want what's best for her, like, and I would have been willing to do whatever to give it that. I was just like, how would I even expect doing any of that without even being a good example? Like, how can I not put myself in a better position in order to do that? Like, I'm not even in the position to do that, and I couldn't see any of that. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was being protective, or like my parents were alcoholics and she shouldn't grow up in that environment. You know, like, I gotta tell my parents to shut the fuck up and go scream at them because Lauren's trying to sleep and they're arguing or whatever, and that would cause a decent amount of fights. Obviously, my behaviors in general cause most of the fights. I'll just say that for the record. But
for the record,
yeah. You know, a lot of it was out of being protective and trying to give her the best life possible. But like, I didn't realize, like, I probably should have been caring about myself and doing it for myself, and that probably would inadvertently work here, make her life better.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, no, it absolutely would. Yeah,
Okay.
It would be an example of...
Yeah, indirectly is what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
like,
it would, I mean, that's a great example of, wow, look at how he's taking care of himself. I need to make sure I do that for myself as well.
Yeah.
And I think that goes with anybody, being an example.
Because, like, if I did the things I did and got away with it, then I'd be an example of showing, like, it just so happened that I didn't. But there are people out there that get away with it, and then it shows that example, and it does bleed out on the younger sibling a lot, like, for sure. Like, as far as that goes. I mean, I, from a very young age, obviously did not get away with it. So, I you know, she at least had the example to see what not to do. But if I was getting away with it, she might have been more influenced by the things I was doing, having seen that I was getting away with it. I'm grateful that didn't happen. But.
Yes, that's very true. I was going to say, I always thought of having a brain fart here for some reason, and that drives me nuts when that happens. It's been quite a few episodes since I had a brain fart.
A good brain fart?
But, this is what I was telling my my sister. It's funny how, like you said, she's done nothing. She's never did anything wrong. Great grades. Never gotten any troubles. Playing sports. Blah blah blah. And then you like totally put your life in shit. But when you take it back out, all of a sudden, all the praise goes to you. It was almost like, it's very analogous to when I was a kid. I remember my sister would be getting great grades, and I'd go from like a D to a C, and my parents would be like, oh, here's $50. Great job. Yeah. Like, it's so funny how the person is...
The person that's busting their ass.
The person who's good and never gets in any trouble really...
Yeah, the recognition.
Yeah, gets looked over all the time.
Yes.
And it's so hysterical how that works.
It's expected, like, from the... Dude, that's like a problem that even, like, with us. Like, because my mom, like, gives me a lot of recognition. She does. Like, you know, and my dad does too. And, like... You know, it's almost an expectation for her to keep just doing what she's doing. This is apparently, like, different, even though by society's standpoint, and my girlfriend will say this too, is I shouldn't be rewarded for something I should be doing anyway. So it does suck. It probably sucks for them. I don't. Yeah, I know it does suck for the other person that's been doing everything right, that should be getting rewarded for it. But I get, like you said, a C instead of a D. Like, yes.
And then here's $50.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yes.
It is. We love, as society, we love people who have fallen and they get back up and succeed.
Yep.
And they always get that praise. You always see that. There's a story to be told. There's no story to be told. And she got A's her whole life.
I mean, we're just gonna go here since today's Super Bowl Sunday. It's like my sister's the Patriots right now. You know, she's expected to just win. So people are gonna root for the Rams just to root for the Rams.
Because they want the underdog to win.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Which I don't even know. I think they're favorite, aren't they?
No, I think they have 2.5 points given. So
okay.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, the underdog, man. Always the underdog. People like the fall and get back up analogy.
The hero's journey, yeah. The Joseph Campbell.
That's me.
Hero archetype, yeah. Come back and fight and win. We love it. The Rocky Balboa.
So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to kind of move it forward just a little bit. So you spent so many times. What do you think clicked finally of just, I know you said, if I keep doing this, I'll die. But something, obviously, you did something. You took some different kind of action along the way.
So that is a very hard moment to explain, and I'll try to do it the best I can because, I don't really talk about it too much because it's hard. It's more of a feeling than it was anything else. Mm-hmm. I was sitting in jail, and I had the option to go to rehab again, or I could stay there where I was comfortable because, honestly, jail and rehab to me was like luxury compared to how I was living on the outside. I looked forward to going to jail, and I looked forward to going to rehab because I had a guaranteed place to sleep and a guaranteed meal. And that was unheard of to what I was doing when I was on the street. Like
eating a bag of Doritos, a small bag of Doritos in 2 weeks is a good meal.
I was diving in dumpsters behind 7. I don't know. I can get into that. So I was sitting in jail, I was running through it in my head. I did this thing where I kind of detached myself from me emotionally, put myself almost in my father's position. Put myself in my mom's position, and I put myself in my sister's position. I put myself in my aunt's position. I put myself in my grandma's position. I put myself in my uncle's position, and I did that with everybody that matters that I'm close to, and the people that have somehow been there for me through this whole thing and were still there for me despite me robbing them of tens of thousands of dollars, and they still stuck there and stood by. And the example that we were talking about, they give that example of someone that I need to be for the next generation of family members that comes up. I need to be in their position in order to be able to do that for somebody, if someone like me comes around and might need that, how I need it now. I just emotionally attached to how it would be in their positions, and I laid there and I think that was the first time I genuinely cried. And I remember because I was specifically looking at it from my dad's standpoint. I will say my dad is not my real dad. I found that out when I was 14, I believe, but he's been in my life since I was 6 months. I call him dad, and he's just my dad.
So he's your dad.
Yeah. So I remember being in his shoes and looking at it and just looking at what I've done to him and what I've done to the family and how hard he has to try in order to keep that together, whether it's financially, emotionally, or whatever. The fact that they can even keep their marriage together, or the fact that they can even keep their house or cars or anything. I couldn't even imagine the amount of stress that I solely put on that house. And I'm their son, someone that they're emotionally bound to look. That was the first time I cried in a long time, because it was an exhausting feeling. I was physically exhausted by the time I did all that. And that was my point of surrender. And that was the feeling that I was talking about. I basically, from that point, I just said, if I'm going to go to rehab, if I'm going to make the decision to go to rehab, I have to do everything the right way. And in my mind, I had my plan of what the right way was because I had been to so many other inpatients and stuff. So I kind of had a blueprint of sobriety laid out before me that I never decided to take suggestions to do, but I knew what it would take. I just had to be willing to completely take what that was. So in that moment, I had to make that decision on a long-term solution. And from that point, my plan was to go from jail to rehab to a 28-day to a halfway house and then supportive living. And that was my transition to being a productive member of society in my head. I got to White Deer Run from jail. I had it in my head that I was going to stay for 56 days. My insurance would just pick up a second mandate. If I got the court to mandate me again, they'd just hold me till a halfway house bed was open.
So you wanted to go from White Deer Run to a halfway house?
Yes.
That was your plan, okay.
Yes. So a halfway house bed did not open. And day 28 came, and here I am expecting to just get a second court mandate. My insurance won't have it. My insurance won't do it. So I'm told on a Friday, or I'm told on a Saturday that I had to leave Monday. And I had absolutely nowhere to go. pretty much no one to call at this point. Like I had nothing. I remember like I didn't even have clothes when I got there. People gave me clothes. My dad bought me like a sweatsuit, a Nike sweatsuit to pack up and give to me to be cool. My dad's always been there. Every time I go to rehab, my dad packs shit for me, puts it in suitcases, and meets me on the fourth floor every time. It didn't open up, and I was told I had to leave. So I basically called my dad, and I was crying on the phone again, and I'm like, just please let me drop the shit off at the house, like the clothes and stuff, and I'll just leave. And it took a solid like 45 minutes to an hour to even convince him to let me do that.
So drop the stuff off at the house?
Yeah. Not even go there, but just to drop the stuff off there. So I talked to the caseworkers and stuff there, like about what was going on. Obviously, I had nowhere to go. I was kind of like in emotional turmoil and stuff. And they called me into the office Monday. So actually, here, I'll backtrack. I woke up Monday morning with my shit packed, and they said, you're not going anywhere. I said, why? What's up? He's like, you got a phone call at 1:30. So they called me in the office later that day, and it's Megan from Horizon Village.
Okay.
And they said, we have a bed open right now.
The day you were leaving, you had nowhere to go. Dude, that day you get that phone call.
They had to have gone completely out of their way for someone that they didn't even really know or whatever. Entirely God's plan, not mine. Correct. Yeah. So then I got to Horizon Village, Delta Village. I stayed there, and I was in no rush at all. Like, I did that, dude. Whatever the process was, like, I was along for the ride.
You were just doing it. Yeah.
I was not fighting anything.
And I see that we kind of touched base on that earlier today. That dude that you tried to get in here, and I asked him, well, how come you're not going from Terrace House to Horizon Village? And, I brought that up. This was my first time. First time being arrested, my first time in a 28-day, my first time in a longer term, first time in an Oxford House, first time with any of this. And I just knew it from the get-go. If I don't be patient and sit here and meditate on the things that I'm missing out on during the summer, the people that I'm missing, if I don't fix right now what I need to fix and learn what I need to learn and do what I need to do, I'm just going to be in this cycle that I see everybody. I talk to people all the time, in and out, 8 rehabs, 9, like something's not clicking. What's not going on? And I found very quickly that people don't want to put anything into it. They just want to get out. I want to get out. I got to get back to work. I got to do this. And they rush it. And no matter how much I wanted to be in bed next to my woman, I mean, I didn't even want to come here. But I knew if I want to keep her, what is another year of doing this? If I got 50 more after this. If I want to keep her and be with her, if I want to have my life that I want to live, I want to be around the people I want to be around, I need to do everything correct right now. Mm-hmm. I need to be open-minded. I need to listen. I need to apply everything I hear, see what works best for me, and figure this shit out.
That's literally,
and that's it, yeah.
It's the foundation, and like, I will give a shout out to Horizon Village for that. It sets an amazing foundation.
It does.
Like, amazing. Like, it gets you pretty much like on your feet to even be able to. That place was a savior to me. If I was at a halfway, I don't know how things would have gone if I did not go there. You know.
I mean, they slowly help you get disciplined. They slowly help you, if you allow them to, anyway.
The whole process of what they do there is if you buy into it.
Even walking out of there. Erin handed me, all right, you got to go. She had the phone numbers, the addresses. This is what you do for your DSS. This is what you do for your benefit. This is what you do for this. You go here. Here's all the paperwork you need. You just hand it to them, and you're good.
Yep. You literally walk out the door, and your rent's getting paid in their transitional living, whatever it may be, and you have your outpatient appointments set up already. You just have to show up. Like, and that's like a big part of everything. You just got to show up. I am going to backtrack a little bit to me sitting in jail because I forgot to bring this up. A lot of my life, like I would make goals, and the goals were always
be a hip hop star.
That's it, Zach Frost, baby. No, so my goals were always like minuscule. My goals were usually like beat this drug test with K2. However, like if I saw in my head, like if I make goals like completing drug court, I don't know what would happen after I completed drug court. If I made my goal complete outpatient, I don't know what would happen if I completed outpatient. And like when I was sitting in jail, like when I told you about that like feeling when I was like in my dad's shoes, I made my goal in there to be a good father because the way I saw that, and I do not have a kid, that's what like I wanted to be. I wanted to be a good husband. I wanted to be a good father. Those were the two most important things that stuck out in my head. Just looking at the way my household is and looking at how my father was And it's a never ending thing. Being a good father and being a good husband is a never ending thing until the point of like death. You know what I mean? Like you're constantly wanting to.
Where, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, you got to put yourself in a better position every day in order to do that. And every day is another day to put yourself in a better position to be a better father, to be a better husband, to whomever. Like I'm not married and I don't have a kid, but that's what I seeked out to be initially in the beginning. But shout out to Horizon Village.
HV.
Yeah.
Were you in Delta?
Yeah. Luckily, when half the girls were there.
No, same here. They left the last. They separated all the girls and the guys.
Damn it!
I was there for like a week and a half.
Those poor guys
with all dudes. Yeah, they had a lot of trouble, man. They flooded that building and they had a lot of trouble there.
Yeah, but the guys did.
Yeah, when they kicked, because eventually
we had a flood.
They flooded like 25 dudes in to fill the building up, and there was just.
Oh, you're talking about like flooding them with dudes.
Yeah, not an actual flood of water.
Like your bedroom.
Yeah, it was like there's no water.
No.
But I think touching on goals.
Yeah,
and that I think is the greatest goal anybody can have: to be a better husband, father, son, brother, whatever it is. Yep. Just to be a better individual. And to set those goals, because it's a goal that you'll never obtain, but if you're working towards it every day, every human being should have something like that in their mind, like, all right, what am I going to change today, what am I going to work on today, and setting those up and wanting to actually reach them. And that feels good as hell when you're reaching these goals that you're setting, when I can look back. I think one of the biggest issues is we talked about that expectation. When somebody's doing something all the time, it becomes an expectation. And one of the things I think we do as individuals, when we change and work on something, it becomes an expectation. Mm-hmm. And when something becomes an expectation, you forget that you've changed and you've done something good to get to this point, and you stop rewarding yourself and you stop looking at yourself like, oh, I'm really doing this. And then once you don't do it, you're like, oh, I fucking suck. I'm stupid. What the hell's wrong with me? I can never do anything right. And you get on these things. And I think it's so important to compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to like who somebody else is today. Like, oh, I want to be this. I want to be this. No, I came from this.
Yeah.
I was this back then and I've changed it.
Yeah. Comparing to self. Yeah. For sure. Always comparing to self.
And it becomes a really like beautiful thing.
Yes. And it's absolutely insane to think about sometimes. You know what I mean? It's hard. As the time goes on farther and farther, it's hard to emotionally put myself back where I was. Yeah, like to touch base on that point, like comparing myself to other people, that's like
you're setting yourself up.
That's not that's always comparing myself to myself as far as myself yesterday. Like you said it perfectly on that, and just making sure that I do better than yesterday, not overwhelm myself.
That's important too.
Very burning yourself out. It's a very common thing. I make sure that I don't do that. I'm probably way too quick at deciding if I'm gonna burn myself out, but I'm really protective over like how I stay clean. Like I remember I was working at Olive Garden, like even throughout clean time, and like I noticed I couldn't take it anymore. I quit.
Yeah.
I just quit because things were so much more important to me at that time, other than my one little cook job at Olive Garden.
At Olive Garden, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even like my financial, it would all figure itself out as long as I was doing the right thing. Like I had to keep my like ducks in a row and know what was important. And like I noticed I was burning myself out if I stayed down that path. And
I know what that path leads to.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah,
where that ends up: jails, institutions, and death,
and dereliction.
Dereliction. Oh, man. When I was in jail, I remember laying there. I was which I think probably most addicts are, I think most people are, a huge self-pity guy. The poor me, I was dealt a bad hand, nobody understands me, I'm all alone. And I remember laying in jail and just could almost actually when I'd close my eyes, I'd almost visualize this fork in the road almost. And I was like, I can either go this way, I can go to the left, or I can go to the right. And to the left is self-pity, is poor me, nobody understands me, chip on my shoulder, I'm going to be living under a bridge, and I'm going to lose everybody that cares about me and everybody that I care about. Or I can just stop being this crybaby little bitch that, oh, my brother and sister died when I was 15 and nobody understands this, and I'm the only one who's going through things that suck, and I can stop doing that and get into no, I deserve to be loved, I deserve to be forgiven, I deserve to have confidence in myself, and I deserve all these beautiful things, no matter what I've done, no matter what any human being has done. I believe that. We all deserve it. It's there.
Yes.
It's hard to 100%. Get out of it. So immediately changing that, and I found kind of connecting this to the compare yourself to who you were yesterday kind of thing, that as I was changing to just mentally get into this mental habit of no, when I would go down and I could feel that, that feeling of heaviness when you start talking shitty to yourself and you're like, oh, these fucked up things I done, what the hell? And I would just stop it immediately, be like, no, but you deserve this, you deserve that. And I think it's such an important habit to get into that, setting goals, comparing yourself to who you were in the past and the things you've changed now. Yep. And then that develops all of these beautiful things of... My girlfriend and I were writing a book on pretty much all this whole story together. We started writing a book. And we have no set time when to have it done, but even yesterday she finished a chapter and I was reading it here. And I'm like, oh, as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I didn't do all this shit, did I? Did I really do that? I didn't do that. But I could feel the weight coming on. I'm like, oh, man. She's like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have had you read. It's like, no, this is good. I have to do this. Yeah. Like, I have to learn to think about these things and read and write about these things and still be able to get through it with positivity. If
you can accept that you've, done those things, too, it's only a positive thing to hear about it or read about it. If you're accepting of, being receptive of, and, being able to handle that burden that maybe you have caused or I've caused somewhere, and if I can accept that I did that, but this is what I'm going to do about it kind of thing, and having that, you brought up positive self-talk, being able to shut it off. I don't think I could ever shut it off before. Now I could just shut it right off. It's if I think negatively, I have an inner confidence that comes out of nowhere that's just like you were saying, just like an inner confidence. I think that came with not feeding myself with drugs. But positive self-talk, setting goals, all this stuff, it's so hard to explain some stuff. Sometimes all the stuff that comes together perfectly when you do get some time.
When you start doing it, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to people. I remember you brought up the cards thing. So when I graduated drug court, they make you do a little speech or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, Zach, tell them what you did or whatever. And I was like, I stopped looking at the cards that I didn't have anymore, and I played the hand I was dealt. And they're like, well, you did more than that. But, really, that's one of, my
essentially, that's what you did.
That's, one of my go-to, sayings. I'm glad that you said that, because that's, one of my go-to things. I can look at my off-suited 7-2 in my Texas Hold'em hand, and know that it's the worst hand in poker. But who's to say that one day 3 7s, 3 7s and 2 2s don't come up on the board and I end up winning with arguably the worst. You can make do with anything. Your chances may be slimmer, but if you put the work in, if you stick around, you can win and somehow beat someone that has 2 aces in their hand or 2 kings. I know I'm comparing life to poker right now, but I feel like it makes sense. If you just play and invest in the hand that you were dealt, things can come from that. And I think I always took time looking at being from Clarence and not being wealthy. I already felt probably oh, well, look at this guy and look at this guy. You know what I mean? It's when you're going to school with, Lindy Ruff's children and lawyers' children and all that stuff. It's we're just a normal middle family.
So I wrote a blog called My Paradoxical Addiction.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved the way it came out. What I talked about is, are there really such thing as troubling times? And I had this thought, and when I was writing it, I just remember thinking, I hurt so many people that were close to me. I fucked over so many people that loved me. I stole from so many people that care about me. But if it wasn't for all those things that I did, if it wasn't for my girlfriend calling the cops on me after I stole from her the second time, if it wasn't for sitting in jail, if it wasn't for other rehabs, if it wasn't for my addiction, if it wasn't for my heroin use, I would not be becoming the man that I am now. I wouldn't have been able to work on all these things. I wouldn't have been able to change them all. And I kind of mentioned, and I go on to talk about all these failures, all these shitty times, all these, this pain, this agony, this sorrow that life brings. When we pick it up and we learn from it, all of a sudden it loses its sting and it becomes a teacher. It becomes a blessing almost.
Yeah.
In a sense.
But yeah, no, 100%. I feel like a lot of things in life are a paradox. I've come to find that out. A lot of things, a lot of negatives. If you know how to handle them and be receptive of them, they become a positive. The amount of shit that I've learned from being entirely shitty. I don't know how to put that into words exactly.
Really bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, but And there's so much stuff that I can like identify with now when I do have children or something. Like there's so many things that I'll know, like warning signs wise, and like how to handle those situations and actually how to go about them without either enabling or completely ghosting. Like I'll be able to do it like healthily. That's like ideal for me. Like I kind of wanted to be a drug counselor, substance abuse counselor before I did the complete lived in turmoil like I did, but like, you know, like used positively, it's almost like you're just studying for life in a way if you use it positively, you know what I mean? It's crazy how a lot of stuff ends up being a paradox, like as far as turning negatives to positives. Everything, I was always a trial and error type of person. Like, always. Like I had to do it in order to see like, oh shit, that's not gonna work. Oh shit, that's not gonna work. And obviously, when I gather all the shit that isn't going to work and put it together, I find all the little things that do work and, like, be able to put that together. What worked from this time, what worked from this time, what worked from this time, what didn't work, what didn't work. And I was, you know, like, the education that comes from doing that, if used in a positive way, is, like, extremely strong. And, I mean...
That's where
I feel like it's really...
from.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's really beneficial to have in life the fact that... I mean, I don't wish for a second that I didn't do what I did. Mm-hmm. I know that it's just going to pay dividends at some point in my life. You know, it can't really. I mean, like the only people that can understand that is people that really went through it. Because I'm assuming from the outside looking in, it just looks like I'm stupid.
We're a bunch of jackasses. Yeah. I mean, but that goes back to them and kind of staying on that topic.
Yeah.
Christine, my girlfriend, she took that opportunity to not sit there and hate me and be angry at me and be like, why the hell did you do all of this? She took that as her opportunity to learn and grow. Mm-hmm. My parents, my mom, my sister, my dad all took these opportunities. Oh, maybe my dad. But my mom and sister definitely took these opportunities to learn and grow as individuals. What can I do? And they just have a whole new outlook on life. And it takes everybody, even if it hurt me. If I don't take those opportunities where people have screwed me over and effed me over to learn as an individual, it becomes everything, I think, in that case, leads back to self-pity. Which there's no benefit in self-pity. I've not been able to find one.
None.
I can almost always find a silver line in anything, but in self-pity, there's nothing.
Absolutely not. Feeling bad. I mean, unless you just have 1,000,001 enablers at that point in time, and you can convince someone that you're a victim, which I tried. I think
it works for a few.
I think I put
it works for a little bit after you've done it for so long.
But then once you're sitting alone by yourself and you have self-pity, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not getting anywhere with that. Yeah, I had to accept I was a piece of shit and that I don't have to be a piece of shit. Basically, that my 7 deuce in my hand is enough to, you know, like, do this thing. Like, I had the tools. I had to believe that I could do it. If I didn't believe that, like, you know, I feel like that goes against self-pity. Because if I have self-pity, I'm not going to believe.
No, you don't believe anything.
That I fucking am shit. But, you know, once once you give that up, you start believing and, like, having faith in yourself and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. There's so much stuff that goes into the beginning of getting clean, actually. Like, genuinely wanting to put the work in.
The example I always use is, for me, the biggest difference, before I would hear somebody play guitar that was 1,000,000 times better than me, and I would be like, I'm never going to be that good. Why bother?
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of like self-pity. And then I took that, and now everything that I do, that I see somebody's better at me, and puts a fire under my ass to keep working harder, to keep doing better, to believe in myself. All right, I can get there. What did this person do? Let me find out. Let me learn from them. Let me figure out how to do this.
I completely believe that you could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who's to say that they're better than you at that? Yeah,
exactly. And that's where I think self-pity comes into play, where it can be the biggest.
Yeah.
It can make you give up. It makes you become complacent. This podcast is the first creative idea that I've ever had that I've done for more than 4 weeks. Everything else in my life, I would start something creative, I would do it for a few weeks, and it'd burn out, fizzle out. No, never mind.
Yep.
I'm not good enough for this.
I think that's why I stuck with soccer, because everything I did, too, is like a month.
Yeah.
2 months. Done.
And that's
Bye.
it. Yeah, what the hell am I doing? There's so many awesome creative ideas I've come up with, and just, forget it.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not even that good at it anyway. Like, Like, I just expect to just be freaking...
It's really that habitual instant gratification.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
I want this to be successful.
I
want 1 million followers right now on iTunes.
You make the account. Where's my 1,000,000 followers?
3 minutes later, what the fuck?
Yeah. Right,
where are all my followers at?
It's a waste of time. Yeah.
Like, and speaking of like the universe kind of, or God, whatever term you want to use, of kind of like as you work harder, as you do these things become like provided for you.
Yes. They fall in place.
I did my last episode I did with two other people, and I had nothing, completely nothing to do 3 people on a podcast. Thursday, I'm at my one-on-one counseling at Outpatient. I walk, and my phone rings as I'm walking out the door. It's this dude that I gave like $350 towards his rent back when I lived in Florida. I'm talking, it's 13 years ago. And he randomly calls me up, says, "Hey man, my landscaping company's doing good. You just popped in my head, and I want to wire you this money."
Wow.
Just like that. Every time I get my
That's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Every time I get a little kind of, I don't feel like, is this podcast really going to take off? Like I get into that little battle. Somebody messages me. Hey man, somebody from Michigan messaged me 2 days ago when I was feeling kind of unmotivated.
Yeah.
Hey,
when you blew me off?
I just came across your when you blew me off. I just came across your podcast. Thanks, man, a lot. It's really helped me. Like these random messages come all the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you're doing.
When I was on your website and looking at it, like I noticed you're still working on it? Like is it done?
It's pretty much almost done. Yeah, but
But I noticed like the reviews at the bottom. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool to see, man.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's so cool to have something where people are just like, "Thanks for doing it."
But it does like work out like that too. Like when you're doing the right thing, that when there comes a time that like you're feeling iffy about it, or you may not be able to do it yourself, or something always finds its way, or someone always finds their way to
keep doing this,
to do it, and to like it's crazy that the longer you stay, like, and if you like believe in it, and if you stay in it, like it's gonna work itself out, like it's gonna work out. And I've seen so many examples of that. Like even my path to like the Oxford House situation, told myself I was going to a halfway house and then supportive living. And then like when I go back to the other story, like when I was at Horizon Village, I was there for so long, they had to put me on reintegration. I didn't want to go on reintegration. Like
you didn't?
I was content because I didn't have I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want friends. I was so serious about me and being like what I said and like building myself up. I didn't have an interest in making friends and stuff like that at that point. And I had an interest in making friends and being a good family member and being friends with my family and getting that relationship back. Like as far as getting relationships back, I wanted my family. I didn't want to really make friends. And like I didn't really have access to leaving all the time. So it didn't really matter. Like a green pass was sufficient. Leaving, was it 3 times a week for 6 hours or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so I had to go on reintegration. And so I was on reintegration, and I waited all the way to 4 weeks, and I think it was like it takes a week for the paperwork to go through to be discharged from Horizon Village. So like on my 3rd week, I interviewed in the Oxford House and got in. And I remember I was really against Oxford Houses like at that point.
I didn't want to go to.
I did not like the idea.
I just wanted to be home.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I didn't have a place to go.
Yeah,
but I was really against going to an Oxford
Why
House.
were you? Why did you think just because it was more of a place to use, or what was your mindset on that?
My mindset was I didn't want someone else being in my recovery, and I didn't want to be in someone else's recovery. I want to be responsible for myself. Like I can do this. Like I believe in myself. I can do this. I'll go through NA. I'll go through AA, and like make my relationships that way. I didn't like the fact that my living situation would be put in the hands of a group of other people and
group of other junkies.
Yeah, straight. Matt, no, no, I just be a dick. Okay, but it was all a misconception though. Like I will say that everything that I had like believed about an Oxford House was all a misconception. Have you ever had this topic before? The Oxford House topic?
Not really. I'd actually just sent a text to Dave Johnson to try to get him on. Wow. I haven't heard back from him yet, but
Dave,
I'm going to talk to him when I go pick up taxes tomorrow.
I mean, so like I had beliefs about trusting other people to put my living situation into, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, I believe that if you didn't like me, you could vote me out, which, I may or may not say that it's true right now.
It could be, yeah.
But I'm just such a likable guy that no, but like, so I moved in and it was crazy because like I didn't have a girlfriend, I didn't have really friends, I had no reason to be out past curfew. All I had was outpatient meetings at that point in time. So like I did not have like an interest in expanding that outside of the Oxford House or the rooms or whatever. And So like even the probationary period, all that was like it was like a non-factor for me. Like I was so surprised at like how an Oxford House was when I came into it, and I mean that also probably saved my life. So I went from having a plan in jail in my head of White Deer Run, halfway house, supportive living, which turned out that my actual path was White Deer Run, Horizon Village, Oxford House, and that's kind of like an example of what we were talking about. If you stick with something, it's going to find a way in.
It finds its way.
Like, I was getting booted out the door that day, and Horizon Village is like, we have a bed for you today. And, like, I was basically getting booted out of Horizon Village, and, like, my friend was like, just go to Oxford House Lovejoy. Like, I'll give him your number right now. I'll tell him to let you in. Like, all right. So I interviewed there and got in. I didn't interview anywhere else. I didn't do anything else. I just showed up. You know, basically, just showed up.
Let it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing what happens when you just sit back and watch life unfold in front of you.
Yep.
And do the things you need to do. And also when the shitty times happen, to not get in that self-pity like we talked about, to look at life and what can I learn from this? And life, it's been amazing to me the last, what am I going on? 10 months, I think, almost, of sobriety.
Big Sean.
And it's been amazing watching life unfold, even from in jail, how everything worked out, how where it went to, how it just all came together to this point now.
Yeah.
And to continue watching it grow and unfold, it's freaking badass.
It is. It's freaking badass.
It's freaking badass.
Dude, I've never really met someone else that could do that laugh that good. I'm surprised.
Oh, Zachary. Final thoughts. 55 minutes in.
Final thoughts. Like Jerry's final thought?
Sure.
Like,
I don't even know what that is. What's
you don't
Jerry's
know Jerry Springer? That's how they end an episode on Jerry Springer with Jerry's final thought?
That's right. My older sister used to watch that shit all the time. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I'm just going to say, the point that I had gotten to, I was completely homeless. I'm 6 foot. I weighed 148 pounds. I never really, I didn't really know where I was sleeping. I didn't have a place, I didn't have anything to eat. I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't really have any money. I ran out of enablers. My parents had orders of protection against me. My sister wouldn't speak to me. I didn't have a single friend. I had a girlfriend of a long, long time that I was asleep one day and she woke me up to a bunch of, drugs and Honey Nut Cheerios, Shout out Honey Nut Cheerios. But
I think they're
and she woke me up and said, I blew your drug dealer. Like, this is what I got. And, basically from that point, I even had a decision, this is what it's going to be. Like, this girl that I was with for 2 years at that point, basically, a year and a half, 2 years, is basically doing that. And, that was the last person that I had, that I was emotionally attached to, because everyone else had cut me out. Dude, I completely, lost her to that. So, I became, I was in a dark, dark, dark place. From that point, it was motels and stuff like that. And, I was eating out of 7-Eleven dumpsters. I knew what time they throw stuff out at. And it was an extremely, extremely dark place. And I lost completely everything more than once over again. I did not have a single thread of clothing that was mine. I didn't have a place to shower. I remember the one time, I was, withdrawing and I shit my pants. And I didn't have anything else to change into or a place to shower. I was stuck with shit in my pants, literally from withdrawing. To think of where I am now, 15 pairs of shoes.
President of an Oxford House.
No, well, president of an Oxford House, it might be a bigger deal than 15 pairs of shoes, right? No, and then the Oxford House climb that I did from that point is pretty crazy. I never really expected to be in the position that I am now.
Technically in charge of me.
I am.
Not technically.
No.
For the record.
Yeah, right. I say that after everything. For the record. Yeah. I mean, I know that anybody can do it. Anyone. I mean, especially if I can. I didn't even really have cards to play where I was at to get to the point I am now. I didn't have a single card to play. I had myself, and that was it. That was enough to get me to where I am now. I would have never imagined to even be able to be in this position, regardless of if it's been 18 months, 24 months, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. I didn't think it was possible for me. And there's no way that I could have predicted it. I just had to believe in myself. And that's really what everything came down to. And that's where everything just, changed, is where I just gave up that fight. I just gave it up and just started putting the slow effort in,
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Sweet. That was a good episode, man. Thanks for finally hopping on the mic.
Yeah, after you just ditch me and bail on me and...
For the record,
Okay, for the record.
you ditched me. And then made up an excuse of a travel ban.
No, there was a travel advisory.
Advisory. Okay, now we're getting to honesty because it is an honest program.
And I think we were scheduled to meet at 10, and I texted you at 11:20.
You did. It was an hour afterwards.
So I don't think the travel advisory text that I sent really had much to do with it. I think it was just an excuse.
It was.
See, we're still sick somewhat, to an extent, you know?
Oh, that's right. But no, it was meant to happen today.
Absolutely.
It was a great
And
episode.
it was a good time.
I appreciate you coming on, brother.
I'm glad that you're doing this. This is a good movement for people to have and avenue for people to listen to, and maybe can help, one or more people. So,
That's right.
And that's all we can do,
Out of everything, dude, it helps me the most.
Absolutely.
Every day, my recovery is in the forefront. I'm working on it because of this podcast.
And that's another huge thing is if you just directly help yourself, you're going to indirectly help
other
everybody
people.
else.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, baby.
That's right. Signing off. Room 9. Okay. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Zach is an awesome dude, and I hope that you guys got as much out of his story as I did talking with him. And as always, thank you for listening. Get on our webpage, room9podcast.com. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Again, we need some support. I am putting probably 40 to 60 hours a week into this podcast, whether it's networking, whether it's editing the website, whether it's editing episodes, whether it's recording episodes, whether it's emailing people, trying to establish connections, and all sorts of stuff like that. It also costs money for the website to even be up continuously. It costs money for the RSS feed, and the RSS feed is just so I can put the podcast on every platform so you guys are able to listen to it. So if you are able to help, there's also equipment. There's also a laptop that is on its last leg that I'm very, very grateful for, but it could go at any moment. That being said, you can check that out, room9podcast.com/support. There is also a link that says Letter to the Donor, which explains how I'm held accountable for all of my finances and everything else. You can email the person who's actually in charge of the money, in charge of holding me accountable with the money, and there will soon be receipts and balances printed up and on the website you can look at. You can email Christine Glavy. Her email is at the bottom of the Letter to the Donor, and ask her if you have any questions, whatever it may be. But get on the website, people. I love you guys. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next week, Monday, when another beautiful episode comes out. All right, have a great day, guys. Later.